Comments after the assassination of Charlie Kirk lead to some educators losing their jobs.
What we're looking for here are not people that have a genuine criticism. What we're looking for are people that are celebrating political violence.
It's raising questions about the limits of free speech.
If you have a bunch of parents saying, we don't feel comfortable with this person teaching our children, the school has to do something. Now, whether that something is terminate the teacher as a first step is another question.
The debate underway now, and how Texas lawmakers are getting involved. A big change at Texas A&M. The university president out after turmoil over a viral video. We look at the response on campus and what comes next.
How would you say Congress has changed over these last 8 or so years?
You know, I think it's not as civil.
A longtime Texas congressman says it's time for him to move on. Michael McCaul talks about changes he's seeing on Capitol Hill as he makes his decision to leave Congress.
Produced from the Capitol in Austin and airing statewide, this is the award-winning State of Texas.
Hello and thank you for joining us. I'm Josh Hinkle. The assassination of Charlie Kirk is leading to an examination of civil discourse and free speech in Texas. In the days since the shooting, some school districts and universities have reported firing employees for comments over Kirk's murder. It's raising questions about the limits of freedom of speech for teachers and students on Texas campuses. The Texas Education Agency is looking into complaints about public school employees in the wake of the assassination of Charlie Kirk. TEA Commissioner Mike Morath sent this letter to schools promising swift action against educators who post inappropriate comments. The conservative Project 1776 PAC is working to collect statements from teachers and amplify them to inform parents.
What we're looking for here are not people that have a genuine criticism. What we're looking for are people that are celebrating political violence.
Governor Greg Abbott posted on social media supporting the TEA action. Others are raising concern.
The person who assassinated Charlie Kirk was trying to silence someone, and that engaging in cancel culture is trying to silence someone.
Adam Goldstein is an attorney with the Foundation for Individual Rights and Expression, FIRE. He says almost all opinions of Kirk and the shooting are protected for public school teachers by the First Amendment, but says if their speech is disruptive to the learning experience, districts can remove a teacher.
We've tried talking to them, we've tried reassigning them, and at the end of the day, they won't conform their behavior in a way that prevents the school from being disrupted.
The effect is also hitting college campuses. On Wednesday, students protested after Texas State University confirmed a student reportedly seen mocking Charlie Kirk's death is no longer enrolled. The announcement came just hours after Governor Abbott publicly called for the student's expulsion. In a statement, the university said the individual is, quote, no longer a student at Texas State. This comes as Texas lawmakers formed select committees to examine civil discourse and free speech in higher education. State Senator Paul Betancourt is one of the co-chairs. He told NBC5 in Dallas that another look at social media law is also on the table.
People think they've got a license to say whatever they want on this. That's not true. Civil discourse has to be maintained. Just because you can say it somewhat anonymously or maybe anonymously, but you can't say that taking somebody's life is a good thing.
Democrats raised concern that regulating speech could go too far.
Loss of life is not something that, we're going to say that is something that should be celebratory. But again, people are entitled to their feelings, and we have First Amendment rights in this country.
The legislative committees will issue reports on bias and freedom of speech, as well as restrictions on campus protests. The committees have not yet scheduled hearings. Earlier this month, a new state law went into effect that updated free speech policies at every public university in Texas. Senate Bill 2972 requires universities to prevent people and groups not associated with the university from assembling on campus for expressive activities like protests. The law was a response to protests that popped up on college campuses across the nation in 2024 over the conflict between Israel and Palestine. This week brought a big change at Texas A&M University. President Mark Welsh stepped down Friday. It comes after a viral video of a student confronting a professor over gender identity discussions in a children's literature class. Welsh faced fierce criticism for how he handled the student's complaint. Adam Schwager looks closer at the response on campus to the resignation and what comes next.
really sad to see him and Miss Betty go.
Showing love and support for outgoing Texas A&M President Mark Welsh.
He was just so relational with the students, and so really wanted to show him the love when he left.
We're from Texas A&M. Welsh resigned yesterday, telling Chancellor Glenn Hagar, "It's been a pleasure to work for you, boss. Best of luck leading the best university system on earth."
It was very welcome news, but quite frankly overdue.
State Representative Brian Harrison was one of the most vocal voices calling for his firing over the last week and a half, over his handling of a secretly recorded video where a student and professor debated over how many genders there are. The professor was eventually fired, but for Harrison, it wasn't enough.
Getting rid of just one professor? Are you kidding me? When the leadership of Texas A&M, the president of A&M, has been pushing DEI and transgender indoctrination, not just in this one course, but across the entire Texas A&M campus.
What led you to this decision?
Yeah, bad time.
Welsh never pointed directly to a reason for his departure, the second president to depart College Station in the last 2 years. State Senator Paul Bettencourt, an A&M alumnus, emphasized the need for strong leadership moving forward.
The best thing to do is make the right decision up front, make it clear, and be consistent. And that's what's not been happening over the last 2 years at Texas A&M.
Students and faculty say they want their next leader to embody the same love for the institution they say Welsh had.
God bless all of you.
In College Station, I'm Adam Schwager.
God bless you, President Wells.
Texas A&M is one of the largest universities in the country. The website Best Colleges reported the university had a total enrollment just below 77,000 students. Only Arizona State University had more students enrolled. He served 21 years in Congress. Now he says it's time to move on.
And I don't think our founding fathers intended for us to be here for a lifetime.
We hear from Michael McCaul about his decision to leave Capitol Hill and why he's concerned about some of the changes happening in Congress. 10 Commandments posters are now on the walls in one Texas school district. Why they're going up now, and how it's sparking debate among students and teachers about freedom and religion. Job openings at the National Weather Service increase after the deadly summer floods, the agency's response, and the efforts to address the concerns. The 10 Commandments are now posted in schools across Hays Consolidated Independent School District, south of Austin. This after a donation of posters triggered the state's mandate to display the religious text. As those posters went up in Hays CISD Thursday, other districts are currently blocked from doing the same. Investigator Kelly Wiley reports from Kyle, where the commandments are sparking conversation in campus classrooms.
I'm at Lehman High School, a campus run by Hays Consolidated Independent School District. This week, every classroom got 3 new posters. One showing the 10 Commandments, a second showing the Bill of Rights, and a third explaining why the district was required to post the 10 Commandments. As you can imagine, it sparked a huge conversation among students.
So we've had some time to think about these questions and the way that we've been responding to them.
Inside English teacher Laura O'Day's classroom, the 10 Commandments and the Bill of Rights are hanging near the door. This poster is one of more than 2,500 that were donated to the school district over the summer by Fort Worth Christian nonprofit My Faith Votes, an organization whose stated vision is to see God honored in the public square.
One of my students just asked me what it was. Her question was, are we going to have to recite these after the pledge? I said, I really don't think that that's what's coming, but I don't have clear answers for her either.
Like, I'm Christian myself, so like yes, like I love like all that type of stuff, but it's like we're making other people feel like they aren't welcomed in the spot where they need to be welcomed in. Like, it's a public school, and like Miss Betty said, like it's a public school, so we should feel like everyone should be welcome.
Under a new Texas law, school districts are not required to purchase any posters showing the biblical principles, but schools are required to accept and display any privately donated posters showing the 10 Commandments. KXAN learned many school districts have received no donations. Hays CISD official Tim Savoy said the law and the donation has put the district in a difficult position.
We have people that love the 10 Commandments and want them in schools. We have people that love the 10 Commandments but think, hey, that's probably a lesson better taught at home or in the church. We have people that are not Christian that have other faiths. We have people that have no faith at all. The frustrating part about a law like this is it makes it look like the district is picking a side.
The district said it would also be posting the Bill of Rights to give students a broader understanding of not only their responsibilities by which they might choose to live, but also the important individual freedoms as Americans.
As the teacher, I'm here to facilitate learning, but I am certainly not a preacher or on my soapbox or trying to convince anyone of anything. My job is to bring everyone together.
District officials tell us even before the posters went up, students were talking about this. There's a student advisory group for the district, and they were talking about in those meetings the 10 Commandment posters, the cell phone ban, and other matters pertaining to school districts coming out of the ledge. In Kyle, Kelly Wiley, State of Texas.
Though SB 10 took effect on September 1st, not all Texas school districts are currently required to comply with it. A U.S. district judge temporarily blocked the law after a group of families filed a lawsuit arguing that SB 10 violates the First Amendment by promoting one specific religious viewpoint. The judge's temporary injunction applies only to 11 districts in the Austin, Dallas, Houston, and San Antonio areas. Attorney General Ken Paxton appealed the injunction and instructed districts not included in the ruling to comply with the law. A longtime Texas congressman says it's time for him to move on.
There are congressmen and women who want to be constructive and get things done, and then there are others who just like to get attention. And I think the attention crowd is growing in the Congress.
Michael McCaul talks about changes he's seeing on Capitol Hill as he makes his decision to leave Congress. Michael McCaul has served more than 20 years in Congress, but this term will be his last. The Texas Republican announced that he will not run for re-election. Our Washington team caught up with the congressman after his announcement and got some insight into what led him to make that decision.
I think it's time. I think it's important that members recognize when it's time to move on. I don't think our founding fathers intended for us to be here for a lifetime. And quite frankly, I've served over 2 decades, I think with honor and distinction. I've chaired 2 major national security committees, one being Homeland Security when the Boston bombing happened, the rise of ISIS and the Caliphate. Chairing a Foreign Affairs Committee, we saw the collapse of Afghanistan, the invasion into Ukraine by Russia, Middle East is on fire, Indo-Pacific under threat by Chairman Xi in China. So no shortage of issues, and the world's on fire. And then, we're term limited, and I've chaired 2 major committees, and I'm just ready for a new challenge, a new opportunity, in the same space. I'm not going away. I'll serve my term, but I'll still be very vocal. I'll have a voice, to speak on these issues that I've dedicated my life to really since 9/11, when I was a counterterrorism federal prosecutor and then ran for Congress.
How would you say Congress has changed over these last 8 or so years?
I think it's not as civil. I mean, my agreement with my ranking members, look, we'll try to agree. But when we don't agree, we can do that civilly. We don't have to do that, with demonic rhetoric and that the other person's a bad person. And I think we've lost some of that. There are congressmen and women who want to be constructive and get things done, and then there are others who just like to get attention. And I think the attention crowd is growing, in the Congress. I've always tried to conduct myself as a statesman, and the reason I've been effective, I've often been named as one of the most effective lawmakers. You have to work across the aisle to pass legislation that's going to get through the Senate and then signed into law by the president. And that's why I've been able to get these things done. Otherwise, they're just political messaging bills, and they're not going to turn into, real legislation that can make a difference.
And so we've seen sort of each party come take control, do their big super bill, and it seems like nobody ever wants to work together. Is that sort of how you see it from the inside?
I still think there are a lot of members like myself that want to get things done. The appropriations process has been very difficult, obviously. First person I voted for was Reagan. I'm kind of in that mold, I guess, if you will. And, but the party is evolving. I just hope, this America First, which I agree with, that's why I passed the CHIPS Act, to manufacture semiconductor chips here and not overseas. I hope America First doesn't mean America is absent in the world. I think it's important we still lead as a nation. We don't have to pay for all of it, but they're looking at us for leadership, and I think we can't abdicate that responsibility.
McCaul is one of several members who have said they may be serving their final term in Congress. Morgan Luttrell announced he would not run for a third term. The Republican represents a district north and west of Houston. Democrat Lloyd Doggett said he would not run for re-election if courts approve the redistricting maps passed by Texas lawmakers. Doggett said he wants to avoid a divisive primary election. And Republican Congressman Chip Roy will not seek re-election. Instead, he's mounting a campaign to become Texas Attorney General. While McCaul made news for his plans to leave Congress, another Texan grabbed headlines by launching a congressional campaign. Tejano music star Bobby Pulido announced he will run as a Democrat in Texas's 15th congressional district. Pulido has had several hit songs since the 1990s. He announced his retirement from music at this event last year and is currently on a farewell tour. His popularity could give Texas Democrats a rare chance to flip a congressional seat from red to blue. Pulido will face a primary challenge from Harlingen physician Ada Cuellar. The district stretches from McAllen to Central Texas. It's currently held by Republican Monica De La Cruz, who took a 14-point victory last year. De La Cruz is seeking a third term. In 2022, she became the first Republican and the first Latina to represent the district. Concerns over an increase in vacancies at the National Weather Service.
This isn't the last natural disaster we will have. We want to be better prepared for the next one.
Our investigators found job openings increased after the deadly flood that killed more than 135 Texans this summer. The agency's response and the efforts to address the concerns. As Texas heads into its second rainy season of the year, our investigation found regional vacancies at the National Weather Service are getting worse. This comes more than 2 months after deadly flooding killed at least 135 people in Central Texas. Investigator Matt Grant spoke with a member of Congress and a former federal official who say the delay could be putting lives at risk.
A week after the July 4th flood in Kirk County, Texas Democratic Congressman Lloyd Doggett urged the National Weather Service to fill vacancies for what he called 126 permanent mission-critical positions. But we found the agency's Austin-San Antonio office still without more than a quarter of the staff it once had. In July, as we first reported, there were 6 vacancies. Those positions were never filled.
This isn't the last natural disaster we will have. We want to be better prepared for the next one.
Today, the office now lists 7 vacancies in management, meteorology, hydrology and observations, and electronic tech. Internet Archive records showed that's up from 3 in March and 4 last summer.
As time passes, I'm more and more convinced that we're going to have to look carefully at specifically the impacts of the vacancy of the warning coordination meteorologist.
That key position, vacant since the end of April, not listed under current staffing. The former administrator of the National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration, the parent organization to the NWS, Dr. Richard Spinrad, previously told us the warning coordination meteorologist is responsible for communicating directly with local officials, especially during severe weather.
I will be surprised if that vacancy is not a contributing factor to at least some of the loss of life.
Critics place blame on the Trump administration and DOJ federal cuts. The White House and National Weather Service have pushed back, saying timely warnings were issued with extra personnel on hand to provide support to local emergency officials.
These offices were well staffed. In fact, one of the offices was actually overstaffed. They had more people than they need. So any claim to the contrary is completely false.
Still, as the National Weather Service looks to rehire essential positions, Spinrad expects immediate staffing needs to be filled first, like the Southeast for hurricanes and the Northwest for wildfires. In a statement, officials tell us it is carefully evaluating the need for additional personnel and posting jobs to fill positions deemed necessary for operational continuity. These jobs are being offered as needed needed to ensure both the safety of Americans and the responsible use of taxpayer dollars. The agency would not confirm the titles of vacant positions at its Austin San Antonio office.
There's no excuse for not at least identifying the positions that are vacant.
For Doggett, the ongoing lack of answers is a problem. He's already sent letters asking to see records related to the vacancies, writing, "Texans still do not have a complete and accurate understanding of the NWS's actions before, during, and after the disaster." He says his office is being stonewalled.
They're not doing the job of filling these positions, and I just hope we don't have another disaster in the area because they're really not fully prepared to handle it.
Matt Grant, State of Texas.
8 days after we asked NOAA why the warning coordination meteorologist position had not been posted, they're now taking applications. The Commerce Department oversees the Weather Service, and on Monday, the department told Doggett it successfully provided support to local emergency management officials during the disaster. Doggett countered that outreach can, quote, hardly be called successful if the intended recipient, like the Kirk County Emergency Manager, was not reached. Thank you again for joining us for State of Texas. I'm Josh Hinkle. We'll be back next week to bring you an in-depth look at Texas politics.